Hello everyone, and welcome to Board Games and Bourbon. I'm Jacob, and today I'm joined by Glenn.
How's it going, Jacob?
You know, this is the first time that my hands have officially appeared on a Board Games and Bourbon video like this. Pretty spooky, right? Well, not as spooky as the list that we're about to talk about. You know, I was thinking that we should do our top 5 games for Halloween. What do you think, Glenn?
Oh, this sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Why don't you go ahead and jump in on your first pick?
Number 5.
Okay, so for my number 5 game to play on Halloween, that is going to be Affliction Salem 1692. It is a Euro worker placement game where you're recreating the historical Salem witch trial, and that means there's no witches in it. But what you are doing along the way is you are trying to lower morale, trying to get people arrested who are your enemies in the community. There's an action tract of selections that you're trying to do. You are going to cast doubt, bring people into your circle of protection, which really grows your tableau of powers for you personally, and also trying to imprison others. Those are all going to be scoring conditions, and at the end of the game, the person who is most able to accomplish their goals wins the game. Really fun, really different. I haven't seen anything else on this topic. That's Affliction Salem 1692.
Salem witch trials, huh? Now that is a very interesting time period. My number 5 game is one that also has some voting elements and a lot of intrigue. So, my number 5 is Election Night, a game where you choose who gets to lead a nation. Alright, this is not my actual number 5 pick, but be sure to go vote. My actual number 5 pick is a game where you are trying to escape the Dark Castle, as is the name. This is a game in which you are playing characters who are stuck in the dungeons of this castle that are trying to get out without getting killed. Unfortunately, in their way, they have their jailers, a lot of monsters that have been let loose in the dungeons, and a lot more, including traps and other things like that. And they don't really have anyone or anything to help other than each other. And if a single person dies, you're out. So, this is a really interesting game, and for those of you who like it already, there's an expansion that has come out this year. And for our sci-fi fans out there, there is another game called Escape the Dark Sector, which takes this game and puts it into outer space. So, definitely check those out.
Number 4.
My number 4 game for Halloween is going to be the rollicking good time Hit Z Road by Martin Wallace. This is a post-apocalyptic game where it's a kid who put together his own board game, and it's really fun because there's a lot of really interesting parts, even borrowed from other games. But what you're trying to do is you are trying to survive an onslaught of zombies, and you are bidding against your other players, but there is also a solo mode. You're bidding resources that are bullets, adrenaline, gasoline, and you're trying to survive these scenarios, trying to get to the end. You'd be surprised how tight it becomes and how fun it is. You can do melee attacks, close attacks, far attacks, and competing with the others makes for just a really fun, good time. And you can find this on discount most times. Hit Z Road by Martin Wallace.
So my 4th game is one that harkens back to my childhood. I used to love watching Scooby-Doo. And now, there's the game, Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Mystery Mansion. Now this looks like a perfect match for this genre. I mean, you've got your Scooby-Doo, and that is pretty much in essence just a mystery show that every week you have a different mystery. So Betrayal at the House on the Hill, a game where each time you play you have a different haunt and different things happening, is a perfect match. And though I haven't gotten to play it myself, because it does play 3 to 5 players, it is one of the games that I am most looking forward to playing once I'm able to get people back together.
Number 3.
Okay, my number 3 game for Halloween is going to be the incredibly difficult Ghost Stories that I've only beaten one time, but I have beaten it one time. And in this, you are a bunch of monks in the center of a city, and you have onslaught of enemies coming from every direction, and you really have to coordinate how you're going to work together to pull things off. The game is very, very tight. It is very, very pressing. You're trying to do this to get to the big baddie at the end of the game. Super hard to do, super thrilling because the noose gets tighter and tighter every single round. One of the highest tension games, but in a very fun way. Always have a great time playing it. Ghost Stories.
Now, my number 3 game is one for all the fans of the schlocky B movies out there. So, if you like those kinds of things, all the horror B movies, the attack of the lobsters and things like that, well, this is going to be a game for you. It is Escape from Dulce. As you can see, this is a very big game, and it is a dungeon crawler. So you have your characters that you're going to use throughout the game, and they're trying to escape from Area 51, of course. And you can play anything from a two-headed cow to, I think that's Amelia Earhart right there, or even the Swiss Family Robinson, who are a conjoined family who play as one character and are just a lot of fun. There's, I don't know, an E.T. with a scouter here and a few others. If you like this type of B-movie schlock, this is the game for you. You can escape from Area 51, and it has some very unique mechanics, including the board actually being 3D and stacking the layers on top of each other, which I think is awesome.
Number 2.
Okay, my number 2 game for Halloween is Dead of Winter. Boy, I'll tell you, this is such a great game. Not only are the components great, the standees, the boards, the locations, the travel is very thematic, and you're always under pressure. You could play with a variant that has a traitor, although I normally don't. But working together and traveling, trying to not get bitten, rolling the dice, seeing what your characters are, having the game evolve as people come in and people go out is such a thrilling thing. To see the hordes of the zombies coming onto the complex where you're trying to board up the windows to survive another night. Wow, this is like playing a living movie. I love it dearly. Dead of Winter.
So for my number 2 game, I'm going to go ahead and choose another game where you're trying to escape from somewhere else. Seems like a little bit of a theme for all of these horror games. This one is set in the futuristic or neo-futuristic kind of smart home setting, which is really interesting to me, and it is Escape Tales Low Memory, where you're trying to escape your smart home and meet up with your family. But of course the smart home has some other ideas. And this is a lot of fun. You can play it over 3 different sessions, and very puzzly, very interesting story in general. It'll take you about 9 hours to go through the whole thing, so it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. And one of the cool things about the Escape Tales games, like this one, is that they are creating new ones every Halloween season. So this is last year's, and then the year before that I think was a zombie one. And then they have a new one coming out this October if you're interested in something a bit different than this. I'd highly recommend checking it out.
Our number 1.
Okay, and for my number 1 game for Halloween, it has a big rubber band on it because it has every single expansion in here, and I have to keep it together, is Elder Sign. Now, this is the younger brother to Eldritch Horror, which is, of course, a larger experience, but I gotta tell you, I like this one more because rolling the dice and going to the different locations kind of plays out faster. It's easier to get onto the board and to explain to people. And when you get all the expansions, there are so many interesting things. Essentially, in this game, you're visiting locations. You're trying to close gates before the enemy comes out. There are literally gates in the expansions that open, that shut down, open, new enemies come through. There's even something in the game where I've had once that was so thrilling where you can essentially throw yourself from the grenade. You can sacrifice your character. On the last move, we did that. We were fighting against the big baddie at the end of the game. We weren't able to shut down the Elder Signs. We had to go into the battle. The battle's playing out in a certain way. And on the very last move, my character decided to sacrifice themselves to do something really insane, kind of pulled it off. And then there's a death card you pull from Beyond the Grave, and that Beyond the Grave power gave me just the edge to hand to my co-players, and they ended up winning the game, and it was fantastic. Wow, Elder Sign, love it every single time.
So for my number one game, I'm going to continue on my whole escape from the creatures kind of thing. And I'm going to take it into space. And this time, it is Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. Now this game is a really interesting one because you can play up to 8 people with it. And that is something that's very unique, especially for a game that can give you this much suspense. And the great thing about it is that it is both a hidden identity game as well as like a spatial awareness kind of escape kind of game. Very, very good and well done, and I really do enjoy bringing this to the table with a lot of my friends. And when getting together and wanting just a little bit of that spooky energy, this one is the game to choose.
Okay, and that's my list. I hope you enjoy that. Thanks so much, Jacob.
Ooh, wait a minute. I think I'm getting something else. Something's coming in. There's another spooky game that we haven't talked about that has been chosen by others. Well, this game has been chosen actually by the people in the Board Games and Bourbon Facebook group. So, this is their top choice for Halloween game. Now, you may not recognize the cover or the language, but that's just because I have the Polish version of this game that came out before the English version. This is Mysterium. Now, chosen by our viewers and people on our Facebook group, this was their number one game for Halloween. I personally completely agree. I enjoyed this game quite a bit. It was one that I'd honestly forgotten when making my own list of games that are Halloweeny. I mean, you're playing a ghost and or paranormal investigators who are looking for the source of the murder. Of course it's going to be, a Halloween mystery. So, very good on you, and I highly recommend this game. So yeah, a great choice from our viewers. If you're interested in participating in future lists like this, definitely check out our Facebook group, Board Games and Bourbon, and that's where we'll be posting other kinds of polls and things like that to see what kinds of lists you'd like and what games you think would be great on them. But for this spooky list, Mysterium definitely takes the cake. Or, in this case, Halloween candies. Well, there you go. These are the games that we highly recommend playing during this Halloween season. They're a lot of fun, and you've got a whole range of different kinds of games, from worker placement to social deduction, and even just some fun like word association / picture association games like in Mysterium. So, if you like these, definitely let us know. Like the video and tell us if you've gotten to play any of these during this Halloween. Otherwise, if you have other favorites, also let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. Again, if you would like to participate in future lists like these, go over to our Facebook page and check out our Facebook group, Board Games and Bourbon, where we will be posting more polls like these. And lastly, we'd like to give a huge shout out to Greenfeed Games. Thank you very much for your support on Patreon. If you'd like to join Greenfeed Games and supporting us on Patreon, definitely check that out. We've got some fun things coming over there. And of course, be safe, be well, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.